Okay, I made a big mistake on this thing here. You know what? I'm going to log out of this thing here to get everybody to see this application as it is. What we're going to do is we're going to look at the Faster Scale app. I'm going to try to do this real quickly because I started to record this initially and it was 25 minutes long. I think I can thin this thing out to something shorter, and we will do that right now. So if you're looking for a Faster Scale app and you don't know the website URL, you can just type in Faster Scale app in Google and it'll get you to the Faster Scale app, which is right here. You do want to log in. It's required, and you need to register this. This is a free app, 100% free. It is explosively powerful for you if you're looking to understand how you have relapses with any form of addiction, practically. It was well done. And I really highly recommend everybody to really look at everything in this and get a good understanding about what it is. I'm going to go back to the thing about checking in is I was hoping I could get back to where I had my prior information, but it's already been put in. If I go to past check-ins, this is my results. So I'm gonna, look at this here. We're gonna go back to check-in as if I had done it for the first time. But I'm not going to submit into it here. Well, actually, I think I'm going to have to. So what I really like about this Faster Scale is that it's more in detail than any other Faster Scale app I've seen. The one in Soul Refiner doesn't have explanations like this does. And this is good enough for me to get me rolling and get me a clear understanding about how each component to the Faster Scale is. Now, restoration is more of this, I have no secrets for today or for yesterday, and as I'm filling this out, I don't have any issues with restoration. But the thing is I could say, well, that's where I am today, is I'm in restoration mode, or that's the way my yesterday was. I don't need to look at these other questions any further. But you really do, because the whole aspect of the Faster Scale is to understand, each one of the components. If you were forgetting priorities, what it would look like right now for myself. Then I would end up saying, well, then hiding secrets, maybe getting bored, the sense of loneliness, neglecting family. I can highlight different things in here. I can highlight 2, 3, 4 of them at one time, or just one, like I did at the first one. Anxieties, I begin to worry. Certain things tend to form up as family fantasy. I have family problems, trouble concentrating, speeding up. I get super busy. I become a workaholic. Ticked off, maybe procrastination, causing crisis, work relations, arguing, irritability, feeling aggressive. Exhaustion is feeling depressed. Maybe I'm confused or hopeless, and then relapse, failing, returning back to the way I was. Now, if I hit submit here, it's going to gather up all these things and it's going to put it into my questionnaire. And these are the questionnaires here. Now, what I'd like everybody to do, if you can, when you're in this position and in this place, is to select. If you can grab something like up here, select and go all the way down to the bottom, and then hit Control C out of your selection. I've already done this, but I'm going to do this again over here. I want to see if this works real well for me. I'm going to just start maybe right here and then hit control. So it does bring up all the things to the faster scale as a template. See how I did that? And then this first one, which I couldn't get, I'll just type in restoration. Now, this is probably where I would rather have you guys start to fill out the information, and then if you can, just copy and paste it back into the app, because the app will save the material. You know, you can answer your questions in here like I did up here with restoration, as I had started to write things out on my behavior for restoration. But the key thing here is if I don't end up highlighting, like down here there's 3, you can only select one of these as being the most important for this day. So for getting priorities, I would say, maybe it is, neglecting some of the family things with my family, and anxiety. I have sleep problems, super busy for speeding up. I do wish that they would have ended up, not keep, when you click on something that changes to a color like an orange instead of a blue, so that you know that you've selected. Because if I didn't do anything else here and I hit submit, it's going to come back. Now it did a previous check-in. See, here's where it really didn't. Actually, it's still trying to get, the questions answered here that it's not. So it says your check-in is complete, but it really isn't. What you really need to do is go back where you're at right now. Is you got to answer the questions. So no querying secrets, sleep problems. Oh, you're in the area where you also have to answer the questions as well, because you didn't really get any answers out of it from it. And if I go to past check-ins, this is the result of the, oh gosh, you know what, it erased it. Yeah, it erased my original information. So this is something that you really don't want to see happen to you, is see all the data that I originally had, which was from my last video, it's all wiped out. So now it's as if I have to start all over again with this app. So you really don't want to get to a place where you didn't get your questions answered and it erased the information, because once it's erased, then now you've got to basically start all over again, and it doesn't give you a complete answer to your problems. As you can see here, I have to go back into this questions here of what I had, and I did have them written out. So I'm going to probably have to look. I don't know if this will work here. I'm going to hit hold. Actually, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill out this thing first here, so that way then you guys can see this before I end up, moving further with this. It's critical that you fill this out correctly, because there is some parts of the application that it will erase something that you've already done, and in this case I already had something done and it's already erased. And the whole reason is because I didn't have my audio working like I do right now with the last video. So I'm going to fill this in right now, and then have everybody, we'll go over it together. I went over some of this information with you. In the case of what I had actually originally filled out, I was going to copy and paste into a text file, and from the text file I was going to end up having something as a template. And the whole aspect of having the template is just so that you have something that you can fill out and then you can copy and paste into here, because I don't want you to end up spending 35-45 minutes every time you do the faster scale. What's easier is if you already have a template that some of the questions that you answered to a prior completion of this faster scale, that's the only answer that you have. I mean, and I just don't want you to feel like this is redundant and it's not very helpful. So the whole aspect of copying and pasting it into a text file is to give you a template that maybe you can just fill in, and you'll be able to use this in the future. So moving further down in here, you can see how I had, how does it affect me? How do I act and feel? The whole aspect of this application here is to give me information about my behavior at a current time. In the case, it would be today. My restorations, people I trust know me and see me as a changed person. How does it affect the important people in my life? They see the changes in my life. Why do I do this? What is the benefit for me? I need to work on retraining my brain and doing so completely, in doing something completely new in my life. This is the results of what I get from doing this application and from seeing the changes that take place in my life. Now, I did highlight it, I had 3 topics up there: no current secrets, being honest, increasing relationship with God and others is all a form of restoration. But what is the key one for me I have to highlight, and that is no current secrets. So you have to fill out everything in this application, even though you may be in restoration mode, but you have to have all the other ones filled out as well in order for it to do an assessment and get the answers and the results that you need for this day. Otherwise, it won't give you a kind of like a results in the end that's accurate. It'll be inaccurate results. Now keep in mind, number one and first and foremost, when you finish this and you get your results back, you do not want to end up redoing this like I was doing to just do this as a video presentation here, because it'll erase all this information that you already had filled in. So you want to really be able to, get the answers that you need done quickly, and when you get your results back, then you'll have to wait another day or go back a day. I'd say you'd have to wait another day and then fill this out again. Otherwise, it'll erase all this data, and that's what I encountered as a bug with this application. So we got forgetting priorities. I'm losing faith in seeing my life change because I'm forgetting them. How does it affect the important people in my life? They are hesitant to see the changes that have been established in my life. And why do I do this? What is the benefit for me if I forget my priorities? I need to work on retraining my brain and doing, not that one. I see that my priorities are returning to a place where the opportunity for lies return to my life. That is a powerful statement, and as I start to write and I do things like that, I can come back to these things in this faster scale app by going back to a prior day, and I can see that. But the problem is those things will never establish itself if I don't write, if I don't get to understand what's going on with me. So we have anxieties here. How does it affect me? How do I act and feel from one situation to another? I'm going to kind of like, this thing is moving, bouncing around, and I don't understand why. Hold on a second here. I got to stop. If I move down in my we already talked about priorities, anxieties. So, how does it affect me? How do I act and feel from one situation or another? I'm starting to see anger return to a pattern of lifestyle. How does it affect the people around me? They begin to be afraid of me and seeing something wrong is wrong with me again. Why do I do this? What is the benefit for me? The pattern of seeking drama. I am noticing a wound that I need to journal. Now, those are kind of key things, components that if I ever re-go back, let's say this is, we're at May 24th, and this was May 18th that I did this, I can actually come back to this and I can say, I never did journal this part here. But there is something about my anxieties that I need to write about to understand, why do I make these changes? Why do I fill this out? And in this case here, it's kind of like flagging me to do something. So I can write stuff like that to rethink out that I need to spend some time, because I may be busy right now to doing anything that I can't journal, so I won't end up doing those things. Let's see, as I try to move forward to the next one here. From anxiety comes speeding up. So how does speeding up? I put down super busy, because I have a tendency to be very busy, and I do things that, my mind just keeps going and going and going, and it doesn't stop. I lack sleep. That's what usually happens, and I find myself thinking too much. How does it affect the important people in my life? They begin to see something they already are familiar with regarding my past behavior, which leads to a relapse. They can see things that really, and even they may end up reminding me, hey, what's going on with you? And that can trigger me to understand, I'm seeing that also with myself, speeding things up. Why do I do this? What is the benefit for me? I'm afraid that if I do not become busy, I could lose my house. And there's so many components about being busy. I mean, I could, and a lot of it has to do with fear of tomorrow or fear of the unknown. I've noticed for myself is that I have a tendency of thinking too much, and from thinking too much, that does lead to exhaustion and a relapse, which is a part of the other components that are in here. Let's move on here. We have ticked off, and I had only one item selected, and that was arguing. How does it affect me, and how do I act and feel? I argue because I cannot seem to solve the problem. I do not have an answer. And whenever we're thinking about, if I have lost my job and I don't know how to pay the bills here with, the unemployment money, or maybe I just don't have enough money to pay for the bills, those things are things that can get you very frustrated. There are things that, and this can happen at any day. I mean, today may be a fine day, nothing really happens, and tomorrow, I get in an auto accident, or I get a parking ticket, or something comes up that, just was unexpected. And that leads to being ticked off to one form or another, or to any of these emotions that are written up here in the faster scale. It could just lead me to a point of forgetting my priorities, because really getting a ticket is kind of like forgetting my priorities, because I stretched myself out to thinking that I could get away with something, and it just led me into forgetting priorities. So it could be anything that leads me to a new thing. And that's why it's so important to fill out a faster scale out, not just, you don't need to do it on a daily basis, but at least once a week. Once again, this is a free app. So ticked off. How does it affect me? How do I act and feel? I argue because I cannot see to solve the problems. I do not have an answer. So I have really gone over this here. And why do I do this? What is the benefit for me? Fear of the unknown. I would love to have my life where I have job security. I have the ability to pay the home bills and live an unstressful life. And that's easy for all of us. All of us would love to have that, would love to have a place where, things are okay. But the problem is even when the things are okay, that can also lead to a relapse, because part of my sense of being comfortable is to engage in something that is not healthy, and that could be pornography. So really the realities are, there's positive things that happen in our lives, and from the positive things it still can lead us to a happy place. And that's where we have to start to write up and journal and come to understand why we do these things and get some sort of healing on that. I want to get to the exhaustion part, but I got to find, because I made this video, not sure if I can get down to it. Speeding up. We went to speeding up to tick off to exhausted. I'm doing this from the video here and I'm pausing it. So I highlighted depression and how does it affect me? How do I act and feel? I cannot sleep. I constantly think of the things that lead me to the place of depression. I begin to think of past behaviors and my life is spiraling out of control. Problems look bigger than they are. So there were two things that I was writing in this that was very powerful here. The first one is I begin to think of past behaviors and my life is spiraling out of control. Somehow my past behaviors relating to exhaustion draw my visual thinking to, what were the things that made me run from the sense of exhaustion or gave me some sort of a stimulation to feel comfortable and that I can still stay awake and still do the millions of things that I normally do while still being exhausted. And pornography was a component into that. The other aspect was problems looking bigger than they are. And the problems, we're all faced with problems in life. It's just that some problems tend to be bigger than they are. And I had to really start to recognize those things that, why do I end up doing this to myself and why do I make myself feel that way? In the case of, if I didn't have a job today, why do I feel like I'm being stressed out because, I feel that way? I was talking to my wife this morning. A lot of the times is because I like to be working. I like to be doing things, and when I'm not, it makes me feel like I feel uncomfortable. So those are all feelings, and those are thoughts and actions that my head tends to do things with. And from writing it, down like I am through the faster scale, it gives me some insights on, why my head gets a little bit warped out sometimes, and other times it just seems like it's okay because I don't allow the problems becoming bigger than what they are. So, how does it affect my family or the people around me? They see me withdrawn. I take things too seriously. And I need to really just unplug, not really get so caught up with the things. Because when I get caught up with the situations, then they start to run the show and control me. And that's where it's as if someone was trying to, grab my brain and knock it around. But it really wasn't anybody. It was just myself. So that's where I have to just, really just let things go and let things be as they are for the moment. This is where I have, a lot of times I end up praying and trusting in the Lord to give me direction on things. Why do I do this? What is the benefit for me? I can't seem to find out the answers to the problems in my life. Well, I think I just answered it, more clearly about not allowing the issues become greater than what they are. So moving down, the next step is from exhaustion is relapse and moral failure. If I can get there. There we are. So how does this affect me? Guilt and shame return to my lifestyle. I feel as like nothing works and I cannot overcome my weaknesses. It's literally that I've failed. I've come to a place that I've lost a game. I've hit back to a place where I didn't want to be in, and it's not a bad thing, because as I had stated the next question, how does it affect people? My wife feels lack of trust again, but mostly my relationship with God is ruined, but my heart knows it is not. I am alive today. You are alive today. And so because we are alive, it doesn't mean that, our lives are destroyed. The enemy wants to come and do that to us, and he uses our own thinking to destroy ourselves. But the thing is God doesn't want us to be thinking that way. He doesn't want us to live that way either. So with that case in mind, the whole concept here is I have to realize I'm alive right now. I can start all over again, and I can try to, do this faster scale a little more effectively and see what it is that led me down to this place of a relapse. Where was it that in exhaustion or ticked off that I could have stopped before keeping and going forward, going from ticked off to exhaustion, or maybe from speeding up to ticked off. I could have stopped at speeding up and slow down and start to realize, no, I want to get back to restoration here. So you start to swing around. That's where the form of repentance really comes into play, is you can even see it through this faster scale that, and as you do this week by week, you can say, wow, I came very close to a relapse on so-and-so of a day, but I returned back to my restoration the following day from being speeding up, or maybe I was in anxiety, and I was able to retrain my brain to avoid that. So this is where the power of this tool really takes place. I want to move forward to the next step here, which is, if I can back it up a little bit here, right here. This is where you have the, when I hit submit, if you did highlight everything, it's going to get you to the results, and this is what the results are. And you can see, I'd like to scroll down, maybe I can hit play here. You can see that. It's where, all the information I filled out is all here. And this is historical now. If I go back to the same day, to the 18th right now, and I fill in a check-in, it'll erase all this information here. So I don't want you to fill in anything more than you need to. But you can copy all this information and paste it into here, or, from the prior page. Just fill in. I would suggest maybe just use the text file that you made to answer your questions the day you do it, and then just copy each one of the answers and paste it into the app so that you can get this result back. And then also date your text file as the 18th, and the answers to the faster scale. So this basically concludes this application here, the power of this tool. This tool is extremely powerful. It does allow you to think out what's going on, and it does create a historical, you can go into, checking your history. Of course, in the last 30 days I hadn't done it, but in the last 180 days, you'll see that I had done something in March. I'm going to wait for this thing to come up. See, there it comes up. And you can see what took place between those things. And you can see the answers to your questions, from both those times. And I'm not too sure how it evaluates things here in regards to behavior and so forth. But I'm more concerned about the factor that it keeps the data and it shows me patterns of what leads me to a relapse. This is not something that you will be using for the rest of your life. It just is something that you'll be using as a tool until you get full recovery. When you get full recovery, this becomes kind of more obsolete unless you see that you're relapsing, then you'll need to end up using this tool again to help you overcome those situations in your life based on the FASTER scale. So hopefully this helps for everybody here. I'm signing off for right now.